What's a suitable punishment for people who litter in national parks? I'm starting to hate this percentage of income thing. I think percentage of net worth would make more sense. A person with low income probably needs 100% of their income to cover their expenses, if they even can. Somebody with high income probably doesn't use 100% of their income to cover the necessities though, so it's not as fair as people think it is. Of course, figuring out what a person's net worth is would take a lot more effort than just seeing their tax return, and it would lead a lot of people to realize they literally have a negative net worth, which I guess could be the case with high and low income earners, so maybe I'm just arguing with myself at this point. They have to cut 2 holes in the bottom of a trash bag and step into it, so essentially they are the trash bag. Next, they have to walk around the park to trash cans, and when someone has to throw their garbage away, they have to throw it into the trash bag that person is wearing. So they get covered in trash and see what it feels like for nature to get trashed on. Considering there's a fetish for being used as a toilet, I feel like this is gonna backfire at some point. I like this. It's level-headed and not a form of medieval or psychological torture, and it accomplishes 3 things. 1 point serves as a deterrent. Cleaning a park is time-consuming and exhausting and unappealing. 2 point shows the person firsthand the consequences of their actions. They now know what someone else would have to deal with as a result of their actions. 3 point the person has a chance to explore and perhaps gain a new appreciation for the park they were destroying. I imagine that at least a few people would be captivated by nature and the park's beauty while cleaning it, and that would really teach the lesson well. I agree I haven't been to as many yet, but I have been to a few, and they were very clean and most people seem to be conscious of that. If anyone here ever goes to a park and you see a piece of trash, pick it up. Don't scoff at it. Don't post on Facebook about it. Pick it up and dispose of it and go on with your life. It takes no effort at all. I frequently pick up trash along the beaches here, Southern California. When I come across it, I put it in my pocket, but throw it away when I get to a trash can. It's literally the easiest thing you can do to help out. If you really need recognition for it, post away. I don't care, just do your part when you're out and about. Another side note about beaches here. If you take your dog to the beach and you pick up your dog's shit, take it with you. So many times I have to pick up doggy bags and full of shit and carry them to the trash can because people are lazy or immoral or both. Let me clue you in. If you aren't going to carry it to the trash can, just be an asshole and leave it there. Shit is at least biodegradable. If you wrap it in plastic and leave it on the beach, you are just giving it a longer shelf life and making it somebody else's problem. Have them hold a sign next to the entrance that reads, "I was caught littering. Please do no litter." Edit. I meant to type, "Do not litter lol." I've visited half the national parks, most of the accessible, non-island, and non-Hawaii or Alaska parks, and I have to say, most of them are very clean. Most people totally respect and understand that national parks are not to be messed with, which gives me some hope in humanity. The litter I have seen is usually accidental. Think someone puts a water bottle down and forgets it. Otherwise most of the visitors never go too far off of the roads. I like your sign idea. Shaming, in my opinion, is a strong deterrent for our public areas. Also a fine. I remember something in an environmental science class about that being bad for most biomes in the US. I know some species here need fire to germinate. You are half correct. Took a whole class about forest fires. You're right in saying that forests actually need fires. Naturally it used to be that the lower half of the forest would catch fire and it would not spread to the crowns of the trees. That would declutter the lower half, remove dead bits, and allow some plants that thrive on fire to flourish for a bit. However, the problem is that we've prevented fire for too long. Because of this, medium-sized plants have been able to grow, which allow the fires to grow rampantly into the trees. This causes the fire to be much larger than before, and those are unhealthy for the environment, taking a long time to recover from them. There is now no way to undo this damage at a mass rate. Instead, the fuels must be manually removed and controlled fires used to clear the forest floor and return it to a sustainable status. Sounds like some great love and logic parenting. Me and the neighborhood kid would tip over and occasionally even rip open trash bags around our block. My mom caught me and was seething. She made me pick it all up, then sit and stare at the full bin of trash for a couple hours. It worked because now I'm literally a public servant in the environmental sector and consider myself a huge environmentalist. Kids are just dumb as fuck sometimes. One of the best cases of parenting I have seen was last summer. A woman found her son had littered a fast food bag out the window while driving. He was caught because he was so stupid that he didn't notice a police car behind him. On top of the $150 fine, she contacted the park and they worked together to give him the punishment of removing several trash bags full of litter from several trouble areas of the park. Was eating in my truck at a Whataburger. Watched a dude toss his bag out the window as he left. Cop car behind him lit him up. Idiot stopped about 100 yards away. Cop walked the guy back to pick up the bag and throw it away, yelling at him the whole way there and back. Dude was probably happy to get his ticket and leave. I just imagine a guy chucking a can in the middle of a park several states away from where he lives. He goes home, a day passes, then he suddenly wakes up in the middle of the park with a tiny flashlight and a note saying you can leave when you pick up the can you threw. He wakes up next to about 950 cans of the same beer/pop that he threw on the ground, scattered everywhere. A ranger says, if I were you, I'd recycle every one of these, you know, to be sure you get the right one. Hate for something scary to happen to ya. When people say fine that is percent of Cs, they mean fine that is relative to the value of money for the person being fined in a way that I don't necessarily know how to calculate, but there are mathematicians and economists and financial experts who clearly could come up with a fair system. And they are probably hoping that no one's going to take them too literally on their word and start mathematically dissecting their suggestion for flaws. Not trying to sound rude, haha, you just seem like you're nitpicking a little. You take them and you make them wear a necklace. Not all that much unlike an ankle tracking bracelet for house arrest, but this thing is no scarlet letter. It's green and it says L for littering. For the 2 weeks that the letter is around their neck, Waste Collection Services receive a special bulletin, including the address of the litterer, and their instructions temporarily change. Instead of taking waste from that home, they bring the waste to that house and scatter it around inside as they see fit. Sorry, roommates, but we are all roommates on planet Earth, and you let your roommate be adequate out there. The big L is also coated with adhesive, and people are encouraged on a daily basis to take their trash and stick it to the L, so that the person has trash hanging around their neck the whole time. It is their albatross, their burden to bear. When the letter is finally taken off after their 2 weeks, they will shed its stink and moldy fruits and their sins with it, and be baptized anew in the coursing water of their shower, after they take out the rotting melon from there. Christ, that thing smelled bad, and they will have a newfound respect for Mother Earth. And if they slide back into literary relapse, their bones will litter the gardens and parks of better men. Trash is a huge issue in public land. I work for a wilderness program in Washington state, and we find camps far in the wilderness that needs to be cleaned. Sometimes with such heavy loads we have to use our budget on a pack string to haul it out. People really don't understand how much work it takes to clean up public lands. But my punishment would be to send them to a dirty camp to bury surface poopers, dumps and TP. I hate surface poopers. The problem with banning people who don't respect the parks is they don't necessarily learn. They just take their bad behavior elsewhere. Couple years ago there was a group of 3 to 4 travel bro YouTubers from Canada who got caught doing their We Are Living Life bro shtick on some hot spring terraces in Yellowstone, where you are explicitly not allowed to go because A, it damages the biomes around the thermal features, and B, is exceptionally dangerous, since you're essentially walking on what could be a paper thin crust of dirt above literally actually boiling hot water that can, will, and has killed people who have fallen into it. Anyway, they got caught, fined, and banned from Yellowstone. A little while later they got caught in I think it was Death Valley National Park driving on the incredibly fragile player where, again, they were not allowed to be in vehicles. The tire tracks they left won't disappear for a long time because it rains so infrequently there. I don't remember if anything came of that. Then last year they decided to go swimming in a little pool at the top of an 800-foot tall waterfall just north of Vancouver. One of them slipped, was swept into a second pool right at the top of the big drop of the falls. 2 others jumped in after them, and all 3 of them were swept over the big falls and killed. Poetic justice, I suppose. I lost absolutely no sleep over hearing of their fate. But point being, they clearly never learned or understood the degree of respect that nature needs to be given, both for their own safety's sake and for the greater good, so that everyone else can continue to enjoy it in as untarnished of a state as is possible given the level of ashattery that continues to persist despite the best efforts of others. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit like. If you would like to see more, feel free to subscribe.